4 June 1942, northeast of Midway Atoll. The Pacific Ocean appears calm beneath a bright morning sky, but hundreds of kilometers from any coastline, history is accelerating towards a collision. Far above the water, American aircraft search desperately for a Japanese carrier force that has already transformed the war in the Pacific. On the decks below, sailors race between aircraft, fuel lines, and ammunition lifts. Engines roar, anti-aircraft guns wait. Then, shortly after 10 in the morning, a formation of American dive bombers appears overhead. For a few extraordinary minutes, the battle hangs in the balance. Japanese carriers, among the most powerful warships ever built, are preparing aircraft for further strikes. Their decks are crowded with fuel hoses, bombs, and torpedoes. They are vulnerable, but only if someone can reach them. Previous waves of American torpedo aircraft had been devastated. Many never return. The Japanese fleet remains largely intact. Then the dive bombers begin their attack. Almost vertically, they plunge from the sky. Airframes shudder. Pilots stare through gun sights as the ocean rushes upward. Sirens howl from the aircraft as they accelerate. Bombs separate from their racks and fall towards ships that only moments earlier seemed untouchable. Within roughly 5 minutes, 3 Japanese fleet carriers are mortally damaged. Fires spread through hangars packed with fuel and munitions. Explosions tear through steel decks. A 4th carrier follows later in the day. The balance of power in the Pacific shifts with astonishing speed. At the center of this moment is a single aircraft, the Douglas SBD Dauntless. It is not the fastest aircraft of the war. It is not the most heavily armed. Yet in one brief window of combat, it helps achieve one of the most decisive victories in naval history. Understanding how requires understanding the desperate problem the United States faced in the early years of the Second World War. By 1942, aircraft carriers had become the dominant weapon at sea. Battleships still possessed enormous firepower, but they could not strike targets hundreds of kilometers away. Aircraft could. The challenge was accuracy. Hitting a moving warship in open ocean was extraordinarily difficult. Horizontal bombing from high altitude offered safety, but accuracy often proved poor against maneuvering ships. Torpedo aircraft could be devastating, yet they were slow and vulnerable to fighters and anti-aircraft fire. The United States Navy needed a method capable of delivering large bombs with precision against heavily defended naval targets. The requirement became even more urgent after the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. America faced an expanding Japanese empire supported by powerful carrier groups. Destroying enemy carriers meant striking quickly and accurately before they could launch their own aircraft. Earlier dive bombing concepts had demonstrated promise, but operational reality remained demanding. Pilots had to locate targets across vast stretches of ocean, descend at extreme angles, and release bombs at precisely the correct moment. Too early and the bomb missed, too late and the aircraft risked crashing into the sea. The margin for error was measured in seconds. The challenge seemed nearly impossible. Carriers could maneuver rapidly. Anti-aircraft guns filled the sky with shells. Enemy fighters hunted attackers. Yet naval planners believed that a properly designed dive bomber might overcome these obstacles. What they needed was an aircraft strong enough to withstand steep dives, stable enough to maintain accuracy, and reliable enough to operate from crowded carrier decks in harsh maritime conditions. That aircraft emerged from the Douglas Aircraft Company. Developed during the late 1930s, the SBD Dauntless was engineered specifically for precision dive bombing. Built primarily at Douglas facilities in California, the aircraft featured a rugged all-metal structure capable of enduring stresses that would damage many conventional aircraft. The Dauntless measured roughly 10 meters long, with a wingspan of about 12.7 meters.
Powered by a Wright radial engine producing more than 1,000 horsepower, it could reach speeds exceeding 400 kilometers per hour. Special perforated dive brakes beneath the wings allowed pilots to descend steeply without accelerating beyond controllable limits. Imagine driving down an impossibly steep hill while trying to place a coin on a specific spot hundreds of meters below. The dive brakes helped make that precision possible. The aircraft typically carried a bomb beneath the fuselage and additional bombs beneath the wings. During an attack, the pilot rolled into a steep dive, often approaching angles of 70 degrees or more. The target filled the windscreen. The aircraft shook violently. At the correct moment, the bomb release mechanism pushed the weapon clear of the propeller arc before separation. Then, the pilot pulled out under tremendous forces. If you're finding this interesting, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. More than 5,900 Dauntless aircraft were eventually produced. They served across the Pacific in some of the war's most important operations, yet their defining moment came at Midway. On that June morning, squadrons from the American carriers USS Enterprise and USS Yorktown located the Japanese fleet almost by chance after a complicated search. Timing proved critical. Japanese combat air patrols had descended to engage torpedo aircraft flying at low altitude. The dive bombers arrived from above with comparatively little opposition. Witnesses described carriers erupting into flames within minutes. The psychological effect was immense. Ships regarded as symbols of Japanese naval dominance suddenly became burning wrecks. Although historians continued debating certain details of timing and command decisions, the broader outcome remains clear. The Dauntless delivered devastating accuracy when it mattered most. Compared with many contemporary alternatives, the Dauntless emphasized precision over speed. Japanese carrier aircraft, such as the Aichi D-3A dive bomber, achieved success early in the war, but American improvements in tactics, training, and carrier coordination gradually shifted the balance. Later American aircraft, like the Curtiss SBC Helldiver, offered greater performance on paper, yet many pilots continued to respect the Dauntless for its reliability and combat record. The aircraft's greatest strength was consistency. It arrived where needed, endured punishment, and placed bombs accurately on target. In naval warfare, those qualities often mattered more than raw speed. The impact of the Dauntless extended far beyond Midway. By destroying 4 Japanese carriers and many experienced air crews, the battle reduced Japan's ability to conduct large-scale offensive operations. Historians rightly note that wars are never decided by a single machine. Intelligence, training, logistics, and leadership all played crucial roles. Nevertheless, the Dauntless became one of the instruments through which those advantages were converted into victory. Today, surviving examples can be seen in museums, preserving the memory of an aircraft that altered the course of a global conflict. They stand as reminders that technological success often comes not from creating the fastest or most glamorous machine, but from solving a specific problem exceptionally well. Return to that morning above Midway. The ocean remains vast. The carriers still steam through the Pacific. Pilots still dive through clouds and anti-aircraft fire. Yet history is about to change. In roughly 5 minutes, carefully engineered aircraft flown by determined crews transform opportunity into victory. 4 carriers lost, strategic momentum reversed, a war redirected. The Dauntless did not win the Second World War alone. No aircraft could. But when the decisive moment arrived, it delivered exactly what its designers intended: precision, reliability, and destructive power at the point of maximum consequence.